So I guess that would be.
We stand for the flag salute. George, will you lead us tonight, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, George. Tammy, will you be nice enough to lead us in roll call, please?
Yes, those present are Mayor Shaw, council members Baker, Johnson, Kemp, and McVeigh. Staff present is myself, Tammy Justice, our city attorney, city planner, public works supervisor, and city engineer, and Captain Watkins. And excused tonight is Tom.
Thank you. Council, I'll look for approval of agenda, please.
Move to approve the agenda. Second.
There's a motion, a second to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed 4-0. I now look for the approval of the consent agenda, please.
Move to approve the consent agenda to include September 26, 2023 claim vouchers 7876 or 7887 and 5 EFTs in the amount of $24,286.62. September 12, 2023 meeting minutes and October 10, 2023 claim vouchers 7895 through 7905 and 1 EFT in the amount of $176,165.67. September payroll in the amount of $32,688.37, and the September treasury report, which have all been audited and certified by the audit committee.
Second.
A motion, a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed 4-0. Thank you again, council. Public comment. Do we have anybody signed up for public
I
comment?
don't have anybody. Amy, you didn't want to speak tonight? You're just hanging out? Okay.
Okay. I will now move on to, I'm going to slow down or Mr. Gibson's going to be correct. We'll now move to public comment, and Mr. Watkins, I said that right?
You did.
Start with you, but you can kind of, if you want to add anything more about your history and your past and how you became our new liaison now, you can do that.
Okay. I am been doing this a little while. I am in my 39 plus years completed in law enforcement. I started in Mason County with the Mason County Sheriff's Office. Worked there for 2.5 years. Had one of those very unusual layoffs in that county. So I ended up getting a job at Centralia. Worked at Centralia Police Department for 2 years to the day. Great agency, but just a matter of a small agency, there was never going to be any movement. So I came to Thurston County in 1989. I have held every rank within the sheriff's office, with the exception of the elected sheriff, and I have no intention of ever going for that office. I promoted all the way to captain under Gary Edwards. Then Dan Kimball appointed me his undersheriff, so I was number 2 in the agency for his time as sheriff. And then John Snazza, when he came into office, he appointed me his chief deputy of support services, which runs our front office and investigations. And then after 3-4 years of that, he actually moved me over to be the chief of field operations. When Sheriff Sanders came in, he wanted to bring in a fresh new leadership to his exec staff, so I then reverted back to my civil service rank, which was captain. So I've done the gambit. I am the captain in field operations. Field operations is all of the uniformed patrol deputies, school resource officers, K-9, SWAT team, crisis negotiators, Marine Services Unit. I like to say if it's fun, I have it. So, again, I've been doing this a long time. I have been to these meetings before, but it's been several years ago, so you'll have to let me know what your expectations are from me. The reason I provided you my card was you would know who I am and how to get a hold of me, but I certainly, because I oversee patrol, whatever your needs are, I can get addressed because, again, they work for me. So it's pretty simple to make those kind of things happen if it's within, our abilities to do so. So I'm a graduate of the FBI National Academy. I'm very proud of that. Less than 0.5% of all law enforcement even get invited to attend. So that was kind of a great training experience for 10 weeks in Quantico, Virginia. So luckily I wasn't there in the summer where it would have been miserably hot and muggy. So again, I've got a breadth of experience, and the reason for the change up is just we're having well, for a lack of better terms, a staffing crisis, and I don't want you to get too focused on the word crisis. We are just down some numbers, waiting for people to get out of the academy and get off the field training program. We have 4 that are in the field training program. They'll be off in the next couple of months. We have 4 in the academy right now. We have 2 waiting to go to the academy, and we have 10 vacancies to fill. 4 of them I think we're really close to having filled, but then they'll need to be trained as well. So because of that, we've shifted our lieutenants in patrol, which is Lieutenant Simper and Lieutenant Brady. We've taken a lot of their duties away from them, and they're doing a little bit more first level supervision duties than mid-manager duties, just to help us get through this period. We aren't putting a time frame on it. It could be for the next 4 or 5 months. It could be for the next year. It could be longer. So in the interim, some of their duties were shifted to me and to a few others, and that's how you ended up with me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments? Okay. I think just to bring you in, the big thing is that they have been working on in the last month or two has been the traffic speed limits up in Tipsu, if you haven't heard. And otherwise, keep Andrew communicating. He is great with my city staff.
Good.
Am I correct?
Yes.
And we can't talk much now.
Checking in regularly.
Yes,
Okay.
but we like that. We like that he, you asked what are the things, those are our 2 priorities, is that he checks in pretty much daily with us.
Good.
And has the speed limits got better since we talked 2 meetings ago with Lieutenant Simple? I said it wrong.
Simper.
What?
I think so. I haven't seen as many speeders on Tipsu.
And I know you get sent the stats, and that's one of the things I looked at first. I didn't review previous month's stats, but I did notice that our traffic was up from the previous month. So,
And that's probably because
yeah,
we had, one of our last meetings, we had some community members that we're also speaking to. So,
good. Good.
so that was, I think, did I miss anything? But weren't those our 2 things we've been working on? Okay. So, do you have anything in your staff report now, professionally, that you want to talk to us about?
Just looking at the stats, and again, it's on me. I should have reviewed probably this whole year's worth of stats, which would give me a better idea. Looking at what I have for the month of September, the calls for service were up about 25 calls from the previous month. But some things were down. We went to fewer domestics, which is always a good thing. There was a few things that went up a little bit. There was a few more thefts that occurred, burglaries. There was really not much of a change there, a change of 1. And then traffic was up. So again, when you identify, and when I say you, when citizens identify that we have a need for extra patrols in an area, or we've got a specific crime problem that's occurring, you got to let me know about it, and then we'll delve into it as much as we can. Again, I hate saying it, but staffing is one of the issues we deal with. We normally have, during day shift hours, Monday through Thursday, we have 2 deputies that are assigned down in this general area of the county, and then we have Andrew as well, which he can be pulled out of a school if we need to. We try not to do that very much, but if something big goes on, we will. But we can focus some resources when we need to. It's just we gotta kind of know about it. The problem, you would be surprised at the number of people who won't call in a complaint on something. So we only know what we're told is going on, and normally that's by citizens calling 911, and then of course we're able to track that. Some citizens don't want to call 911. Some citizens might show up here and complain to the city about a problem. So you just need to let me know about those things, and then we can again try to address it as best we can. I don't promise or guarantee we can solve every problem. We can't. But when there are issues out there that we need to throw resources at, we can do that. Even during the staffing issues we're dealing with right now, that we still have abilities to pull deputies from other areas, do overtime details. There's different things that we can do. So, and we're more than willing to do that.
Thank you.
You bet.
Jim, you got anything to report on?
No, it's been a pretty quiet week in the planning side. We're just processing a short plat still, and we've had no other. I think a month or two ago I reported to you we approved plans for 105 Michigan, I believe. He's been very quiet. Haven't heard from him. He hasn't come and picked up his plans, but it still sits there waiting as an approved project. But no, it's been pretty quiet this week, or this last month. Had to deal with a couple off-premise signs. Just remind the business owners that what the code is and ask them to remove their signs. Pretty straightforward.
Any questions for Jim?
Last week during council meeting, discussion on the crosswalk and getting flashing stuff for that. There was discussion in front of Michigan Street if they did have the street developments on that plan. Do you remember that?
Well, there is, the code requires street development, sidewalk, curb and gutter on that street as frontages. There was previous correspondence and conversations about deferring that, and that was what was recommended in the approval of that project, deferring the frontage. However, a deferment is only a promise to do it later. If the city wants to make that call that in, then that developer would be required to do it when the city asks them to do it or as part of a bigger project.
I think that'd be an item for discussion, Bob. Calling that then. If we're going with that crosswalk, and the discussion last week was, yeah, they were putting a sidewalk in there.
And that's, yes, and I know, so you're talking about when we talked at the retreat, okay? And I was gonna save this for the next meeting, but we might as well I just give you information. What Tammy's found out is that DOT will not fund the beacon lights that we were hoping, and we said that Tammy would check on that. So that's a no for sure. So we had Jim look into it also, but if I remember right, Adam, when we did the 2 beacon lights down at the Dollar General, we were $18,000 each, right? Somewhere in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So I think would be, something council can think about before our next workshop for the budget would be if we put the beacon lights, which I think was Dennis's thing on the retreat list, we're probably $36,000 at a minimum, and DOT is not going to fund it. You want to add anything? I know you can't say a lot or speak.
No, that's right. I called WashDOT and they said they don't install new ones. They repair existing ones. So that's why they helped us with that one, but they don't just put them in.
I think we have something in asking for money from TRPC to do that. And that's on our list, I believe.
Yeah, it is.
So we'll put it on the agenda. So what you want on the agenda is revisiting or visiting the deferral of that property, which is Montoya's, right? Are we talking the same property?
Yeah.
And Montoya's doesn't come all the way to the corner. No. So even if they did the improvements, you're going to be short a gap getting from the crosswalk to those improvements. So there'll be some improvements required on top of that to make the connection.
At least we have that section brought down even closer.
Okay. Any other questions for Jim? Thank you, Jim. Ron?
I submitted a written report. If anyone has any questions, other than that, I don't have anything to add right now.
I have a question, I'm not quite sure who to direct it to. Have we had any further development in our request for bids for new storage building?
Yes, we'll have all that at our next meeting for the budget workshop. I mean, we haven't got a final number unless, I don't want to bug you about it because you didn't. You told me you'd have it by today, but did they get back to you?
Yes, but she said this is with concrete, 86, no doors.
Okay.
She's going to get me a quote for no concrete, but ready for concrete, which is the pressure treated board around it. And then without that is 68,000.
Okay. Nothing to go apples to apples with the other one yet.
Tony hasn't got back to me with his bid without
You're trying
concrete.
to get him to come down.
Correct.
So yes, we got a second one that's probably cheaper, but we're trying to get it. So it's 86,000 with the concrete, but doesn't have the doors on it. The other one was 140,000 with the doors on it. So I think we have a lower bid to answer your question.
Good.
We're just trying to. So I guess if we got 86,000 with everything but the doors, you want us to get a price with the doors on or not?
No, I still think that we can do this in phases. It's, the equipment we're putting in there doesn't have to be locked up. I mean, it's been sitting outside
Okay.
for 20 years, you know, so.
So we're fine with the bid of with just the concrete and the walls up and nothing
Well, I
else.
think it's great if we can get a decent price with concrete.
Okay. So I guess that price is good to go. I mean, not good decision, but okay. And we're still trying to get the other bid to back off the doors. Yeah, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we're also, since you kind of asked that, I will just jump into kind of my report. You know, we're gonna, all those things we talked about, the retreat, we're trying to get, we've got some bid on the fencing for Wachowski Park and all that stuff. We'll have it prepared for the budget workshop, our first meeting in November.
Is that something we wanna get the fencing and do it ourselves, or we're trying to
We're,
get somebody to do it?
we got a price on the fencing and we think we can do it in sections. You know, so we got a price on the fence, and like I said, we'd like to bring I'd like to bring everything to the workshop of all the things we talked about on the retreat.
Okay,
And then we're gonna maybe have to sort in whatever we wanna do.
works for me.
Are we going to do it earlier for the workshop, or how are we doing that?
Well, I was gonna get there, but yeah. I mean, let's move on and we'll come back to my report. So, yeah. Any other things for Ron? Thank you, Ron. Adam.
A few updates, the water system plan, work on that continues. We'll be out here soon to do some hydrant testing to complete the hydraulic model for the entire system. I'm also working with Thurston County on data for your wellhead protection plan. That's updated with each water system plan, but Thurston County, Kevin Hansen, you might remember, he's a hydrogeologist. He recently did a lot of work in this area, so hoping that working with him I can get more recent data, as Rainier has unusual soils, as you probably know. It's more porous upper soils and creates larger areas for wellhead protection. Water moves faster through Rainier soils. So, as you might have heard, talking to the mayor, the RCO grant that I was taking pictures for last time I was here, before the last council meeting, I got the application in, and it was accepted. It's for the paving of the path over in Wilkowski Park, as well as the driveway. And then we put an acrylic surfacing section in the application for the basketball court. So we're hoping that if that gets approved, it can take some cost off of the sports court projects for the pickleball courts. We're waiting on Thurston County to know if they are going to provide additional funding for the sports courts, for the pickleball courts. So no word yet, but hopefully within this month. The RCO grant, I don't know if I mentioned, it's awarded at the end of the month on the 30th. So we'd like to get the sports courts out to bid again in November to take advantage of the good bidding climate right now. There's a lot more hungry contractors towards the end of the year and the beginning of the year, trying to fill their schedules next year. So hopefully we can get that rolling by the end of November. So, besides that, I'll be out here on the 26th with Ron and DOH to update the city's sanitary survey. So
Yeah.
we're hoping that as well. We think we have a good representative at DOH that will not be problematic. So
Anything else?
that's it for me.
And you probably heard me, Adam, talking before the meeting. We're hoping to get an answer with Thurston County to see if they're putting any more money into the budget. And generally, mid-November, they should be doing the same thing everybody's doing with their budget. And I may see Carolina this Friday at a meeting. I'm supposed to be hosting the mayor's meeting, and it's Port Commissioner and County Commissioners month to meet. They get to come every other month, so hopefully I'm going to see her this Friday. Any questions for Adam? Thank you, Adam. Dennis.
I attended TRPC meeting last Friday, and primarily we talked about the electric vehicle infrastructure. And what I basically learned from that was we need to take a giant step back. Don't touch it. Lots of problems and issues with the state and the feds, and until they work that out, we don't need to. We shouldn't get involved in charging stations. Some of the stuff they're taxing is just crazy. The other big thing was the regional trails plan update, and we went through the first review. They're looking to expand it by, probably about 100 miles in different directions, connecting the Yelm all the way with Dakota and Gate, Belmore, and some other woodland trail. If they're able to get the money, it'd be great. And one interesting thing that came up as we were talking about Thurston County and electric vehicles, and I don't know how the two got together, but from surveys that they're doing for some reason, the birth rate in Thurston County is 10% lower than surrounding counties. Why that is and why that has anything to do with electric vehicles, I have no idea. But that's just something that was kind of interesting. And that's it for me.
Thanks, Dennis. Any questions for Dennis? Ron?
Just keep it being rural.
Any questions for Ron? Thank you, Ron. George?
Trunk or treat the 28th, 3 to 6. There'll be a dance for the kids going on at the same time. Boosters is putting on Haunted Trail from 5 on. Steady meeting next Friday at Rainier. City Pizza, 8 o'clock in the morning. That's all I got.
Any questions for George?
They must like that. It's the second meeting they've had.
I think George is trying to, help them out with some extra business. So.
Good.
We have to talk and get out of here. Okay, thanks, George. Maureen?
Nothing.
Any questions for Maureen? Thank you. Bill?
Nothing. Isn't that wonderful?
Any questions for Bill? Tammy?
I have nothing.
Just out of curiosity, how are things going with our wetland idiot?
So,
Tammy's got the news on that.
you want to talk?
No, go ahead. Sorry. I just have a tickle, and so when I talk, it makes it worse. So I apologize.
So that's what we were talking about when you guys all showed in one of the things, and we were out the door closed. So Bill has not had a response to his letter, which doesn't surprise anybody. They had a public request for minutes back to 1960.
69.
Down back to 1969. City staff did wonders finding our records that were in our cabinet right back here. And by Tammy's direction, they went through all those and found everything that they wanted, which wasn't a lot. But they are also privy to be able to come down. They can either have them emailed to them, or they can pay to have us make copies, or they can come down and look themselves. Well, the wife was down here today from 8:30 till 2:30, sitting in here, looking at all the minutes, and she's going to be back tomorrow morning. So that's the update we have, Dennis.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else for Tammy? For Tammy. Okay. Only thing on my report then, I've pretty much addressed everything. We're going to have things prepared for the next meeting. How about, I know, would 4:30 work for the council workshop? Could you make 4:30?
What day is it?
That'd be first. It'd be our regular meeting.
14th, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So we have 2 meetings in November to get our budget workshops to satisfy everything. So, you think both of them can work?
Both of them.
The 14th and the 28th?
Wow. You really asked.
I think last year we didn't need the second
We
one.
may not have to do it at 4:30, but
Yeah.
so we'll tentatively plan that the workshops will be at 4:30, and then our general meeting at 5 o'clock, and maybe that second one we won't have to be at 4:30. So, yeah, and the fee schedule, we're going to have that ready for you. Also, that was all part of the retreat. Jim's working on his end. Ron is working on the pet part. City staff is working on the stuff in here. So we talked with Bill about that today, and he's going to start working on his end of it. So we'll have an approach, because if we change our fee structure, we need to get that voted in so we can start it as of January 1st. So that'll, that's not part of the budget part, but it's part of the retreat that you guys wanted us to do. I think that's all I have. Any questions for me? Okay, we'll go.
I didn't have
I
anything.
thought you started to say something. Okay. Any new business? Okay, no new business. We'll go to old business, resolution 551. We need to take action on that tonight.
Motion to approve resolution 551.
Second? If you did not second.
I did.
Okay, sorry.
You
So
did.
George
Okay.
took it, and
Then,
Ron and Dennis, you got that? Okay. Motion and a second has been made to pass resolution 551. Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed 4-0. Thank you very much, council.
Move to adjourn.
second.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Meeting adjourned at 5:29 p.m.
Tammy,
Ice cream.